It is a very angry sky today. Calm before the storm. It's been raining and humid and thunder. Ooh, that's very angry. So I have a little thrift haul to make over for you all. Just little. A couple extras going to be added in here. Now I have this Warren Kimball print, but it's in the hunter green, which kind of dates it. And so the simple is just painting it black, nothing big. I did look it up. That does not take away the value of his print by any means, but it just makes it a little bit more sellable if I just do it as a neutral black. And then there's this super cute little tray. I have a great idea for this, but first I have to get it all painted up. And then these are just resin candlesticks. But the detail on them, I know whatever color I choose to paint them and if I try out some of that decrepit dust, ooh, that'll be fun just to bring out all of what there's so much detail in these pieces. And then I have this cute little candle set. You can stick them up this way. You can put them on this way. I love that they have a little tray. They're wooden, perfect. The nice thing that I always look for when I'm looking at canisters, do they still seal? Are they still usable? So perfect for a makeover. Additions will be these mirrors with beautiful detail on them, detailed mirrors. These really aren't terribly special other than the frames have amazing detail on it. So we have a small little one, we have a little bit bigger one. This one's actually plastic, but I think it's going to paint up just fine. This one is a wooden piece. But yes, both of those are going to get a new color. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne, and today we are doing a thrift store makeover. I look for items when I'm out and about that might need to be a little bit modernized, up to date, giving them a little bit of love to make them be beautiful home decor again. If you like that kind of content and are not already a member of our YouTube family, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know we uploaded a new video, and let's get a crafting. Not that this is a hard makeover by any means, but I share this kind of stuff because some people sometimes don't think about that. Like, oh, I don't, 100 degrees kind of out. That's not going to go with my decor. But just sharing the simpleness of making over and painting a frame into a new color and giving it new life. I'm just going to tape off the glass. That way I have a little bit of less cleanup at the end. I know it's kind of funny because the hunter green almost probably is looking black to you, but it is not. It is hunter green, which is a dark green. So I'm just using Fusion's Coal Black. Fusion's has a top coat and primer all in one, so this makes it an easy transformation. It has a lot of graining, so I'm trying to make sure I don't really have any brush strokes, just lightly going over it. And yes, I am doing 2 coats because when you're trying to make it so you don't see brush strokes and putting it on thin, there's a chance that you'll get that hue of the green coming through. So next I have this little tray, and you can see it has like some water damage because it was just painted and not top coat, so the water was allowed to get into the wood. So I'm just going to give it a quick wipe off, Dawn dish soap, hot water. So for the tray, I'm going to go ahead and do Miss Lillian's upside down bottles. Just Ducky. I really like the color of this. It's like a robin's egg blue. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with my bottom first. Because, yeah, you know, you have to wait for things to dry. So, is that not a fun color? Now it's kind of like a chalk paint, so there's no top coat, no primer in it. It is what it is. But I don't mind. I want to be able to distress this, just distress it in a different color, so I didn't seal it in. I didn't want to prime it in. Okay, I'm going to flip it over now that the underneath is dry and get it painted. I'm going to put a little bit of decor in here, a little bit of stampage, I guess. And I'm going to be using the Iron Orchids Decor Stamps Pennsylvania Folk. And I've got the birds and the little bud and the little fan. And for some reason, when I put these birds on stuff, it sells quickly. So people like these birds, y'all. So I'm going to have to reuse that one to go over there. But yes, so I'm just going to get some ink. I haven't done anything to this board yet, like distressed it, sealed it, or anything like that. I'm just going to put this right on top. I'm going to be using IOD's black ink for the total color. I don't have a stamping mount that will fit in here, so I'm just going to be using some of the packing tape and make little handles like that to be able to grab the bird. And then you can fold it over. I ripped the so strong I ripped the tape. Not really. Just enough to do a little handle. And I actually want to have it set kind of in there already, so I know where I'm going to when I get it all inked up. Here, I wanted to be able to, okay. The nice thing about having tape is you can tape that down. And there we go, we got the one. And if the tape pulls some of it off, that's okay. I'm going to be distressing it anyway. The nice thing about doing a little tray like this is you can lay it down, or you can also put it on its side and use it like a pitcher. Could use a different color, but I just felt like once I distress it and do any like waxes or anything, it the black shows up the best. Just gonna eyeball and pray for the best. Perfectly imperfect. So to distress this, you can water distress. I just like to do sandpaper because that way I kind of get the edges where I want them to be. Sometimes when you're doing a cloth and stuff, it gets a little bit in the areas you don't want to. So it's just personal preference. So I'm just going along the sharp edges, getting that back down to the wood. This tray had some beautiful grain pattern on it. So I'm hoping as I'm going on the bottom of the tray here that I'm going to get some of that grain showing through. IOD is a permanent ink. It's nice and dry. I shouldn't have to worry about it bleeding. I have it distressed the way that I want it. I'm going in with some of the Fusion's aging wax. I'm going to start off by putting it in like the edges, the corners where dirt and debris would have built up to really give it that aged look, and then just blend it over the entire board. The board has so much texture. Yet again, that's why I picked this tray out, because I loved the deep grooves that it had, that I knew when I went to antique it with some aging wax, it was just going to stick into those details. On this little mirror, I want to protect this beautiful backside. I don't think it's terribly old. It looks old. It's got a skew on it. But I'm just going to use some painter's tape so it doesn't stick to that paper. For this little mirror, I'm going to use some of the DIY's Gypsy Green. Look at that color. Oh my goodness. And other than just blowing it off and cleaning it off with some Dawn dish soap and hot water, there's a lot of detail hard to get into. So we're just painting right on it. I thought it would be fun to go. I've been doing green mirrors lately, and I cannot keep them. As soon as I put them in, they sell. So I thought I would give this one a little bit different of a green, since it was small, and we will see how it goes. Because on my other one, I'll be doing my Old Faithful, because you can't help but do that, because you know what sells. So I'm actually going to try out a new technique. I've never done the blending technique, and I know, I keep watching the DIY Debbie's channel, trying to figure out how to use this paint, and she keeps doing a lot of the blending. So I kind of tempted to try a little blending on this, because it was a little piece. It was $2. If I ruin it and nobody buys it, then so be it. But at least on a small piece, I want to give it a try. So I actually have a little bit of the Little Black Dress. I don't know if I have the right brush or not. I don't have her fancy brushes. I just have, these are just from Amazon. So all I'm going to do is tap it, spray some of the water. I knew that it's heavily pigmented. So a little bit goes a long way when you're doing that kind of a technique. I absolutely do not hate it at all. I think that I'm going to like it. So a little bit of water. Not much of the black paint. Spray the black paint. And I know you have to work, I assume that you have to keep working with it while that it's wet. So there's so much detail to this frame. Yes, I have it on a Lazy Susan. I have lots of them on Lazy Susans, right? Thrift away, y'all. The thing about DIYs and painting, it's about having fun, trying techniques. That's the nice thing about a secondhand item. You're not buying something at full price and trying to paint it over. And then if you hated it, you're like, oh, I paid so much for it. Well, I paid $2 for it. So there's that. And then I'll just let it dry and see what it looks like. So I just have to pop on in the middle of this video and share a shout out to my viewer D. Beckham from Florida, who sent me a little personal air conditioner. Our studio shop is not air conditioned yet. That's on the to-do list. Everybody's got a to-do list. And it's been so hot and humid. And if I have the fans going, then you hear the fan over my voice. So one time I had the fans on and apparently she didn't like the fan noise. It is what it is. So she sent me this little personal air conditioner and I am testing it out today because it's hot, humid, rainy, stormy. There's been tornadoes around us today. And yep, I'm out in the studio working because you just live life. So I'm going to turn around and show you what it is. My mess. We all have a mess. It's just this little thing. Yep. You fill it up with water, you turn it on. And actually, I'm like this far. I know. We don't have the best studio. We work in our studio that far and it's working. I can feel it. I just wanted to give Dee a shout out and thank her for that. And yes, all the way over here, I can feel it. So it is working. Thank you. Well, that was definitely fun mixing the colors. I like how it brought out the detail, but I am still going to add a little bit more before sealing everything in. I'm going to go ahead and try some of the decrepit dust. I know that, oops, it goes a long way. So I'm going to just put it in a bowl. First time I used it, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. So I'm kind of just doing on the seams, on the raised part. Just trying to give it some of that old age. It's like the more I rub on it, the shinier it gets. That's interesting. I think it's going down to the, as I'm rubbing on it, I think that it's distressing and it's going to the gold, but I like that. I like how that's popping that. Yeah, a little bit of this stuff goes a long way. I've learned that. Yeah, I think it's like when I'm doing this rubbing motion, that's not even wet distressing. I'm going down and it's popping the details and it's putting this little dirt in there. That is definitely something about DIY paint. That distress is super easy. Okay, so here's where I struggle. I end up loving, I love this. This turned out so wonderful. But I've got to seal the paint in. This is where I, like, okay, I don't want to brush on the big top because then I feel like it's going to take off the dusting. I don't want to wax it because the wax reactivates it. So I'm going to try, I don't want it to make it shiny. So I have some clear matte polyacrylic in the matte. So I'm going to try spraying this on and pray for the best. This is the struggle I have of how to seal in and figure out how to make my design stay. Oh, we all have pet peeves, and my pet peeve is tags. This is like a rubber, so if I use the razor blade to get them off, it would cut into them. If I use the heat gun, it would melt the rubber. So I'm just going to try out some lemon oil. See if I can get it to come off. There we go. If you're a reseller, nothing says I thrifted this and now I'm trying to get more money out of it than leaving the tag on. Don't just take it off. You can sell something even better by taking that China sticker off. And I'll probably take some slack from that, but it is true, y'all. Okay, let's get that lemon oil off. Get them wiped off as much as you can, especially with all that detail. Do it as best as you can. I don't want to make a hot mess of the bottom, so I'm just going to put some painter's tape. So in the past, I would have probably sealed these in with shellac to get the paint to adhere well. My understanding of DIY is I really don't need to do that with this paint. It will adhere well. So we'll see. So yep, especially when it comes to resin and plastic, I've always kind of done the shellac first, but testing it out, trial and error, and see what happens. Candlestick color, I'm going to be using the DIY's Apothecary. Get that underneath. I love picking up items like the frames and these candlesticks that just have all this yummy, beautiful detail in it, because when you distress it or you wax it, it just pops and just takes on a whole nother life. So I find misting what you're painting a little bit before you put on your second coat to make it go on smoother and then it doesn't grab the paint off. Just with the mister bottle, just a little dab. So now I'm going to be using some more of that decrepit dust on these. So I'm going to go ahead and, just like I did before on the mirror frame, I'm just going to do a little bit. Now, when I read the container, it said something about wax and waxing it before. Probably more of a personal preference also, because it would really stick on. It would really get dark if you waxed it before. I'm just looking for just a little bit, and I probably had that first stroke probably had a little too much of the dust on there, but yes, but I'm loving on this stuff. And yes, the more that I rub it with my brush, it does seem to get down to the original paint, but I'm really loving on it. For the ease of not having to brush any sealer on here, especially I don't want it to move the dust that I just put on, I'm going to use that same polyacrylic matte spray. I did like how the mirror turned out. I like being able to spray the items to seal them in. So this is plastic. I cleaned it off as best as I can, but I am going to seal it in with a couple coats of shellac to get the paint that I'm going to use on it to bond with it. Just, I don't want it all, I'd like some of it to chip off, but not all of it. So I'm going with my faithful, the one that keeps selling, Old Olive in the Milk Paint by Sweet Pickins. It's a powder. And then you mix up equal parts powder to equal parts water. The last one wasn't really a full scoop. And you just mix it up for 2 minutes, making sure that you get it off to the all mixed in together. Push off to the side, making sure you get lumps. You can use whatever kind of electric mixer or whatever. This just was what works for me, and I don't mind it. So it'll aerate, it'll make bubbles. I'm always kind of like smushing it on the side, making sure. I don't think it matters which way you add the water because the powder always wants to sink to the bottom anyway. So, okay, I let it sit up a little bit to thicken. And I give it a little stir, get it off the bottom, which then will put way too much on my brush. So I'll just scrape it off. And it's kind of like a tapping motion to get it into all that detailed area. Remember, it's plastic, so it's not going to absorb in. It's just going to kind of be sitting on there. Okay, now this is completely dry. I actually let it sit overnight to dry just because it was really humid out yesterday and rainy, as you saw. So now we're just going to use some of the Fusion's aging wax. I got some crackles. You can't really see them, but the wax is going to end up popping it. So we're going to get into these beautiful details and add a lot of age to this piece. So just work your little tip brush helps to get into all those details. We can't forget about our sides. So the paint is not sealed in with anything. This is what's sealing it all in. And then I'm just going to go back through with a chopped cloth, the kind you buy in the big tub. It's lint-free. It's wonderful. And it's just popping all those details. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. Love it. There you go. Waxed, not waxed. Oh. Okay, now it's time for the canister set. So I'll just take them apart, take those in the house and wash them really well. And then kind of assess what color, what do I need to do with this. You can see there's not really any top coat on any of this. So I think I'll just wash them off for right now. I'm not sure if you guys get tired of watching me how I always prep, but I'm a creature of habit, and I think prep really matters on your product. The more prep you put into it, the better your paint job is going to be, and the more it's going to last. The last set of these that I did 3 different colors, and they sold really well, so I don't know why not. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with some cake batter by DIY. I haven't used this color yet. Oh, that's going to be fun. It's a light color, so of course it's going to take multiple coats, but oh, curiosity of what that will look like. As I said, the fun of painting something is having fun. Not always, I mean, I am kind of doing the same old because I'm just have fun. And I'm going to go ahead and do Apothecary. I think these colors will go. When I purchased the few colors that I did to test this out, I kind of tried to find colors I thought would coordinate with each other. And then for my blue, I'm going to do some sea glass, which is going to seem very bright. But once that yellow gets on, I think it'll be brighter. For the base, I'm probably going to add some kind of detail to the side with the colors that I painted the lids. So I'm going to keep it simple and just do Fusion's Picket Fence, which has a top coat primer all in one. So I'm trying to do as much as possible. So like flipping it upside, you know, on the right side, not painting those, that way it has something to sit on so I can finish up a lot of it, you know, because white takes a lot of white takes a lot of coats. Okay, 3 coats. It was hard when it was wet. It didn't look like it had covered enough, but once it dried, it finally did. So I'm just distressing the edges a little bit, giving it a little bit of character. Yes, you can definitely water distress this. I don't know. I just like I like to use the sandpaper. I don't know, just what I do. I'm just doing that to knock off the powder. So I really like the ease of spraying a top coat on. So the same thing with these lids is I'm going to put polyacrylic as their finisher. Now to finish up this holder, I want to put some wording on it. I think it just gives it that little bit of something something. And I'm going to be using the IOD's Mercantile stamp set. Love this. It's kind of my go-to. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to do the dry goods wording first. It just fits. So I'm going to use packing tape as my handle to be able to hold onto it. You could just freehand it, but I like the feel of the packing tape just a little bit more. And then I like that ease of having the tape so that I can kind of stick a little bit of the sticky to the item. That way I don't have to worry about it slipping around. Just go ahead and get it all inked up with the black IOD ink. Black is just that basic color. I really like the wording, like the old advertisement a lot of times was the black color. So if you ever wondered what those extra pieces in your IOD stamps were, they are called masks. So what they do is, so I've stamped my dry goods co on there already, but I want to put some grain stripe sack stripes on top of it. So the mask will cover up the wording and I'm able to do the grain sack stripes over the top of it without disturbing the wording. To ink up my stamp, I'm going to go ahead and do like a dry technique, just using a sponge dabber with some of the Pop the Carry color. So now my paint is all dry. Now I'm going to go back in and distress it. So personal preference, I like to stress it after I get the image on usually. That way I can distress any of the letters. I love how the stamped. I know my one stripe there is not as clear as you would probably think you'd want it, but it's okay. It's that perfectly imperfect. It's supposed to look old and wore. So this, even though you wouldn't have thought that this little piece had that much detail, there's a lot of little hidden details that I want to bring out by sanding on it. And the last thing I need to do is I need to seal that apothecary color in and just a couple sprays of the polyacrylic. So I don't know how you feel about testing new items out. Do you like to do the same old, just a creature of habit? Or are you like me, adventurous? Give it a try. I like a good challenge. You know, not everything, you can't know everything going into a new paint. So I love reading people's comments of how they finish it off or little hints that they give me. So I take them all in and then I kind of like figure out like, okay, well, this is what's working for me. This is how I can flip it. This is how I can get it to move without having to wait for a ton of dry time. The polyacrylic seems to be working well. I will go, don't worry, I'll be trying out the big top a little bit here and there. I just really do like the good challenge of testing out new products. When I first started the milk paint by Sweet Pickins, oh my gosh, do y'all remember it? Some of mine were a hot mess and I had to figure out how to save the items without having to repaint them. So yes, please keep giving me your hints and your comments and I'll keep researching and I'm just going to have fun creating. That's what it is all about. It's all about having fun. Remember, it's just paint. We can paint over them. That's why they're thrifted items. We usually didn't pay too much for them. So again, thank you for watching today's video. Let me know in the comments below which of the items I made over, I thrifted and made over for you today were your favorites, and if I inspired you to look at items in the thrift store when you're out and about looking for secondhand finds in a new way. Again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscription button if you're not already a part of our YouTube family. We'd love to have you join in the family. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.